Um, Ryan, we're going to stick with you, give you a first shot at this one. Once you understand the changes that will be involved in an upgrade, and this is what we're touching on, how do you work with operational and business leaders on training in terms of communicating the impending changes and getting feedback on what type of training is needed? How do you work on scheduling, measuring effectiveness, and collecting feedback on the training itself? And how do you determine, this is an interesting one, if the training should be voluntary or mandatory? So we talked about working with the vendor, understand what's coming down the pike. Let's say we're told what's coming down the pike. Now we have to go and prepare the users to be trained and then execute on that training. So your thoughts around that? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the most successful model that I've seen that works really, really well is there's always going to be a lot of information, a lot of changes that are coming. Software is getting more advanced as its capabilities grow and grow. That also makes training it a little bit more challenging. So I always recommend a 3-column approach. So first of all, what is discoverable? What are people going to find on their own? And actually, it's very much the way our cell phones work today is we don't get a long list of training every time I get an upgrade. That a lot of it I will just kind of discover as I go through. There's some new options on a drop down. Something's in a little bit different order, but I can navigate through it based on the knowledge I already have. So there's a discoverable type of activity that we don't need to train for. There's also what I call awareness. So something that I want people to be aware of. It's a big enough change where people can still use what they know to work through that training, but we want them to be aware that there is going to be a change. And so that they can take what they know and adapt to it. And usually those are very quick. I think I'm a huge proponent of video training for those. Just a real quick, here's 5 things that are changing, please be aware of them. And then you kind of get into what I call skills training. And that's something very, very different, where there's a new skill or a new process that's very different that people are probably not going to be able to work through on their own. And that's when we're probably going to look at some sort of training delivery so that they can interact with an instructor, or it might be an e-learning followed by a Q&A session, something patient safety, revenue cycle, those types of activities.